So, on this episode, is Rolex overrated? Do we like diamonds on Rolex? Do you like the old ones? Or do you, like Andrew, see the watches from Rolex as a commodity? And mind you, did you sell your children?
Watch and find out.
Pretty little thing living like to count, cause mama, I'm sure hard to hell and I yes around.
Anyway,
Anyway.
welcome to a brand new episode of It's a Matter of Time. I am co-hosting here with my dear friend, Eleonor. She's actually French. And Andrew, who's from Australia and who once had a ponytail. I'm your host for today, Kristian Haagen. I'm from Denmark. So, I was really looking forward to this episode, my dear friends.
I know.
Yeah, I know that you know.
Do you want to you just want to go straight in like that? There's no warm up.
No. I have to do this, and even though Eleonor and I, we're not very fond of hashtags, we have to do that.
Hashtags.
What's on your wrist today, dear? Eleonor.
And there we go again. Don't you want to go jump straight into that?
Hashtag watch fam.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Bring that heat on.
Yes.
Come on, Eleonor. Look at this.
I am wearing the Octo Finissimo from Bulgari.
It's steel.
When I told my dad, because obviously there's a lot of watch stories related to my dad. When I told him that he should definitely consider Bulgari as a new watch brand to onboard, he was like, it's women's watches, they make jewelry. It's like, trust me, the Octo Finissimo is going to be a big thing. Well, fast forward, next thing we know, he's the #1 Octo Finissimo seller in France.
And also, he did the thing.
And he did a collaboration. He did a limited edition of the Octo Finissimo, the Fuoco, in collaboration with Moco Paletta, the tattoo artist.
Oh,
Yeah.
And he did this with the fire, with the air, and with the water. So you have some wavy, you have some fiery. It's such an amazing watch.
Yeah.
That being said, the reason why I got a held of this watch is because I do have my dad's wrist in terms of size. My mom's wrist is smaller, and when dad thought the watch was too heavy because he discovered the carbon version and the titanium version, he was like, I can't wear it anymore because it's too heavy. And it was too big for my mom, so I inherited it from it. And I actually
It has been
love this watch.
well loved. Which
Look
is
at that.
Nice good to see. Oh yeah.
Truth is, once you put an Octo Finissimo on your wrist, it's really hard to get any other watch.
Yeah.
Because it's thin, because it's sporty, because it's elegant, because it goes under any single shirt. And it's just, to me, it's a modern icon. But I know we're not here to talk about this today. So I'm going to get my watch back.
Oh wow, that just about hijacked the whole show.
And you guys are going to speak about what you have on your little wrists.
There's a bit of a clue here, isn't there?
Tell me, Andrew, what are
Yeah.
you wearing today?
I am.
Put it in front of the camera.
I'm living a little bit of a cosplay moment right now. I have lots of bracelets on, and I have Kristian's Patrizzi Daytona on my wrist. And this is a little bit of cosplay because it relates to today's episode, and also because I just want an excuse to jack it off your wrist. So I feel good with this. This is a watch that I will at some stage. This is on my must-buy list. This is on my before death must acquire list. So whether it's yours or someone else's, this will be mine one day. And I'm very pleased that I've been able to work this cosplay into today's theme. And
Okay.
Well, it's
I
not
don't
to say
like-
what we're going to be talking about today, by the way.
You know,
He's going to drop that
It was
bang.
a bit hard watching my beautiful 5-digit Daytona on Andrew's hairy wrist. I do appreciate that you're matching it with your little pearls. As a good match.
They're tiger eye, actually. But
Anyway, I'm also wearing a Rolex. It's my 1655. It's the Explorer 2. It's an oddball. You know, the hands don't look like the usual Mercedes hands that you have on a Rolex. This one, I've had 7 of these, I think. And it's pretty hard to tell the time. But it's also one of the watches I grew up with. I remember seeing it again in National Geographic. This is, to me, a watch that sits on the wrist of heroes. Now I'm wearing it, so Not much of a hero. But I'm right here in your living room or in your ears, on the radio, on your favorite podcast media, I think. Today, we're going to talk about Rolex, which is one of my favorite brands and has been forever. So I'm going to start with you, Eleanor. Tell me about your relations about Rolex.
You sure you want to start with me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, truth being told, I was brought up not liking Rolex. And it's kind of strange to say being brought up in a watch ecosystem because usually, and it's the first question people ask me, do you wear a Rolex? Your dad is in retail business. He owns a Rolex store. He actually doesn't own a Rolex store. He doesn't even carry the brand, and he's never owned a single Rolex in his life. And yet, he's one of the most eminent watch person in the industry or the world. That being said, I obviously grew up not liking Rolex, but not because Rolex is a bad brand or not because Rolex doesn't make good watches. Rolex makes 1 million watches a year. They're the most comfortable, solid, strong, Swiss-made, reliable, all the best qualification you can give to your watch. But in my father's education around watches, if you want, and it goes back to one of the topic of what we discussed, is if you want to step into the family or the grown-up crowd where you're wearing a luxury or an expensive watch, Rolex wouldn't be the way to go because you'd just be living the Swatch family into another huge family where millions of watches are making every year, which means that after 10 years, you've got 10 millions of watches on the market. And for him, it was not something that would make you stand out on a personality standpoint, on a choice standpoint, on even like something that would just make yourself not necessarily more interesting, because that's a bit pompous to say, but it's just, if you're wearing a Rolex, you're just like everybody else at the table. And I'm sure you all, and you're going to scream out loud saying, no, but he doesn't have that reference XYZ. He doesn't have that patina on the dial. He doesn't have that year, that vintage. Yeah, right. But if you're not into this, he's still wearing a Rolex at the end of the day, which is why he specializes in independence. But fast forward, I grew up, I was able to make my own statement, my own education into liking or not some brands that I was brought up not liking. And Rolex to this day, it's still not a brand that I'm particularly fond of, to the exception that their gem set watches are extraordinary on a technical standpoint, on a just the association of color, the way they cut the gemstones, the way they pave the bracelet, the dials, the bezel, and even the colorful dials like the vintage one are pretty cool. But generally speaking, it wouldn't be a brand I would go to or I would even recommend in the first place.
Question.
Answer.
Does your husband-to-be wear a Rolex?
He does not.
Would you have married him if you wore a Rolex?
I would have, but we would have probably kept the watch in the safe.
Thank you, Eleanor. See, if I was ever to write a new book on Rolex, I would dedicate a full chapter to Eleanor. Andrew, back to you.
Yes.
You're wearing a Rolex right now, a vintage Daytona.
Yes.
I happen to know that you have a modern Datejust in your collection. Is that correct?
Correct.
You bought that when?
Well, correct in the sense that I did in the past tense.
You sold it.
It's gone.
See, this is coming back to Rolex, because Rolex is not just a watch. And for many years already, it has been a commodity. I think a lot of people, they buy a Rolex, a new Rolex, in order to flip it. We did discuss it lightly in an earlier episode. But I think if I was to do merch, I would do a T-shirt that says, quotation, but I sold it, end of quotation. And I think that accounts for a lot of Rolex lovers, enthusiasts, and collectors. Why did you sell it?
Because it's cash.
See, commodity.
Sometimes you need cash.
Yes, true.
I have been sweating about doing this episode to a point where on Thursday night, I woke up at 3 a.m., started thinking about what I was going to say, and I didn't get back to sleep. And I had a terrible Friday and it was all Rolex's fault. But Rolex I need to make a distinction here.
Mhm.
It is the most overrated brand in Swiss watches.
Agreed.
And I will explain what I mean by that. But
Yeah,
it
I'm
is,
waiting for that.
But it is the best luxury product ever made. So on one hand, if you're thinking, I want to buy a watch and I want to buy the best possible luxury product, there is no competition.
It goes back. I disagree. Agree to disagree, because it goes back to the definition of what luxury is.
But can I? Do you mind if I define what I'm talking
Sure.
about? I'll give you the full reasoning for both statements. When you think of Swiss watchmaking, what are the images that come to mind?
Rolex and Patek Philippe.
So you see logos. What do you think of when I say Swiss watch, high horology?
Movements, I think details, I think craftsmanship, I think excellence.
So you are
What
the
do you see? What do you see?
I can't get the
Numbers.
Swiss out of my head. I think of the person pre-electricity. When you drive past a manufacturer that was built before electricity, you see lots of little windows. So that's because each watchmaker needed to be crowding up to as much light as they could possibly get in order to do their job. One watchmaker for each window. That's how simple it was. And that's how sort of reductive and rustic it was in those times. I still can't get that out of my head. That ain't Rolex, baby. Rolex is the best mass industrialized product ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And on that hand, if someone says to me, oh, Andrew, give me a tip, give me a suggestion, what is the best watch I could possibly get? I just need to work out if they're picturing brand power, which is what you said, or craftsmanship, people, expression, humans. If it's a human person, I don't recommend a Rolex. If it's someone imagining craftsmanship, if it's a brand power person, logos, it's a Rolex. So I think they're the most overrated brand when it comes to the idea of Swiss watchmaking in the traditional sense. Absolutely not even in the conversation. They've taken Swiss watches to a level of precision, perfection, performance that is, it's like, what did I say, Marcus? Lovingly made by machines, untouched by human hands.
It goes back.
Well, no. That is not true.
A human drops in the balance. A human does one or 2 points in the whole process. But you can't compare this.
Industrialize, which for me are the epitome. There are two words that are completely contradictory with luxury.
Yes. And that is where I just wanted to come around and say, we completely agree. If we're defining luxury as the best product, the best precision, the best performance. See, some people would say, my notion of luxury is to get the best version of that product. The best version of a mechanical wristwatch on the market is a Rolex. I have spoken to people at Vacheron, Patek, and AP who all would say Rolex trounce us in many of the aspects of watches, including bracelets, including cases, including materials. They have their own foundry to make a watch from a block of gold or a block of steel all the way through. Yeah. So even the Trinity watchmakers will say, oh, no, we can't compete with Rolex on bracelets, not a chance. But it's a different mindset and product. So I just think Rolex is overrated if you're looking for a Swiss watch. But if you're looking for the best luxury product and the best example of a wristwatch, it has to be a Rolex. So it's a long answer, but that's what happens when you wake up at 3 a.m.
I still disagree with the luxury part of it.
Well,
I thought we came to agree.
No, because you just said that it's still the best luxury product.
But see, I'm saying that for some people, luxury is buying the best of that thing, the best boat, the best house, the best car, as in the best, the most precise, most best performance. Some people think of luxury as getting the best example of. And for those people, I would say Rolex is the answer. But your definition of luxury...
Because it also reassures them. It's also a commodity. It sells fast. You want to get cash. You'll get it immediately, etc., etc.
And that's why you can't argue with Rolex as being, I think in some respects, a Rolex at retail is the best value watch on the market.
That is truth spoken.
Yeah. Where do you stand in between those? Because I know that was a sort of a two-part answer, but it just really occurred to me that this is like this idea of Swiss watchmaking as the watchmaker. If you think of that, you ain't heading for a Rolex, baby. You should be heading towards a watchmaker that still has some hand finishing, that still has humans Much more involved.
A soul in it.
Rolex
Has no soul.
has hands, mind you.
Yeah.
Okay. I was very privileged to visit the enormous production facilities of Rolex back in 2014.
Mhm.
I was
The
surprised
golden
to
ticket,
see.
this is known as.
I was surprised to see how many hands were actually present.
Okay.
And I would ask, why do you not use machinery for this? And the reply was, machines don't necessarily know aesthetics. I was surprised to hear that.
What were the hands doing?
They were applying indices, for instance.
Mhm.
That was super interesting to see because to me that would be automatized by machines. To me, when I arrived, I was at that point, I think 44 years old. So I came with about 40 years of questions. And I had so many questions prepared that I almost burst, it was like trembling, like not sleeping at night because I was going to visit the crown.
Mm. Which, by the way, I have to say, Kristian's one of maybe 3 or 4 people I've ever met who've gone, this is truly a Wonka golden ticket. This is not handed out to many journalists.
No, but there was, I think they were surprised with the many questions that we had.
I wrote 8 books.
Really? Is that why? At that point, I didn't write. I only wrote
Ellie,
like 5.
They're all sold out.
They're all
They're all sold out. Wow, we're
I'm still going to get a copy.
Yes, I have a hard copy at home. No, but the thing is, we spent 4 wonderful days. We saw all the production facilities.
4 days?
Yeah, well, they have a lot of production
Just let
facilities.
that manufacturer, 'cause you know
Everywhere else, no. But what I learned is
He posed as the
that
janitor.
the Rolex people, they do have a sense of humor.
Okay.
So first of all, I asked why this certain building in the outskirts of Geneva, what's with the green windows? And they were like mumbling together and then they gave me the answer, well, we had some leftover sapphires of the Milgaus with the green sapphire. I was like, that's funny. Okay, that was joke 1. And I'm not going to tell the 3 jokes.
More.
The second joke I learned from that wonderful trip in 2014 was I had lunch with the lords of the house, if you like. And I sat next to Monsieur, I'm not going to mention his name because Rolex would not appreciate that. And we had this great lunch and this beautiful view over Geneva and the mountains in the back. Everything was so Swiss and proper. And I thought, wow, it was really good lunch. Everything has been perfect. And, we've had such a good time. Now we're a little buddy atmosphere, right?
Yeah, you wish.
So I ask around the table, so after spending these wonderful days with you peeps, so tell me, what's the weakest link with Rolex? And the monsieur next to me is like, takes his napkin. Well, I think the weakest link with Rolex is the way we prepare the tomatoes. And mind you, the tomatoes we had for lunch were perfect. So that was joke number 2. The third one I don't recall because what I realized on that trip, because every time I would ask a question, and that was at that point where they just came out with that campaign, most of the answers would be like, oh, it's the Rolex way.
Yeah.
Okay? So everything is perfect. And we still see the crown as something out-of-worldly, if you like. It's not human. It's as you presume machines are doing everything because human hands cannot do this perfection. Well, they can. They know aesthetics. And coming back to your line of business, mostly, coming into the jewelry setting room, and they had a machine that would scan for fake sapphires. See, I don't know the retail price of a tiny sapphire, but I had to ask them, how many fake sapphires have you with this probably million Swiss franc machine? How many have you detected? Oh, we had 2 a couple of years ago. But that's the thing. Rolex cannot afford mistakes. It's all about perfection. But I realized, being the 4 days with Rolex and seeing all the production facilities, the secret behind Rolex is the secret. And we just have to accept that. You can't know everything. It's like going to the magicians, right? And Eleanor and I, we're having a really good time. We were looking forward to this, right? And then the magician comes out and he's going like, yeah, I'm going to saw this lady into 2 parts. And Eleanor and I, we've got to be like this. Oh my God. And then bringing this kid to the show, he's going to lean over like, I know how he does that. Can I tell you? It was like, don't spoil the show, man. Leave the secret be a secret. And we need to appreciate you can't have a transparent production of a product being as perfect as a watch from the Crown.
That's fine, but tell me one thing. Why, when you say that you don't particularly like Rolex or you're not like a Rolex person, and again, it doesn't mean that they're making bad watches. It's just that I like diamonds, you don't. I like pink, you like blue. That's just a matter of taste.
I like diamonds.
Why do people look at you and it's like, why? It's like, it's not a bad thing. I didn't say anything wrong. But it's as if you touched like the holy grail and you said something that's going to put you directly in jail. And it's like, you know, like one of the anecdotes, and you were saying that they were funny, and it was another reason where I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to make any other effort. I remember getting into a meeting, forgetting my pen. I borrowed a pencil. And you know how it's like in a watch fair? You've got like 20 meetings a day. You're rushing out here and there. I took, by mistake, the pencil. They chased me for 3 days, harassing me with emails. When are you going to return the pencil? I'm like, I don't even know where that is. It's like in one of my bags somewhere in my apartment amongst the pile of shoes and press books and things. It's like, yeah, we really need you to bring the pencil back. It's like, why exactly? Because there's a logo on it. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And because there's the whole thing around Rolex and all the derivative and all the products that because it's got the crown on it, that they thought, and even if I did, that I would sell this pencil or frame it behind or sleep next to it because it would help me fall asleep properly. And I'm like, are they like above everyone else? Are they like at that specific level that they're chasing me 3 days in a row in the middle of a fair for me to bring back their pencil? I'm like, that's a bit intense.
Well, definitely, you know, the brand is that important and that strong that they need to protect everything. I think McDonald's would do the same, actually, protect their brand. But that's a whole different story. So back to the crown. You like Rolex. You sold it. You never really found the love for the crown.
I wore Milgauss for a couple of months.
Yeah, that's a fun watch.
I liked it, actually. But after a couple of months, I was like, I just borrowed it from my ex-boyfriend. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad I wore it. My dad almost didn't speak to me for 4 months. Oh. That was fine.
So you broke up with your boyfriend instead because your dad didn't talk to you. I'd done that.
But it's just that I enjoyed wearing it. But it's just I was like, I'm glad I didn't buy it because I was just going to be fed up with it. Strangely enough, Tudor, which is practically the same thing, I just love the brand. I love the products. I wore like a Tudor for years because I just loved it.
But isn't that a matter that Tudor is the underdog of the crown, the younger sister?
Absolutely.
So why do you think we bring the love to Tudor and then, I don't know about Rolex? Is it because it's cheaper? Is it because it's easier to get? There's no waiting list. There's no flipping around.
That's the thing is I've never been part of the team where the whole speculation, the flipping, the being put on a wait list and begging to see this. And I've never been in that game. And I've been in the watch industry for long. And I've told all the people who came here, I was like, I'm not going to beg for this. You shouldn't do this just because for me, this is not what watchmaking is about. And Tudor, why do I like Tudor and probably not Rolex? It's because if I want to get a Tudor, I can get one. I don't want to sit in line and be nice and become friendly and be on the friend zone of that commercial guy or that boutique. It's just that, guys, at the end of the day, we're not saving any lives. It's just a watch. And if we're reaching the point where we want to be put on the list for a certain watch, it means that we're the 1% of the population that can afford that. And I think it's already a big thing where there's just so many brands on the market and so many really cool pieces that if I have to just like dance and do all these things, but that goes the same way with the Royal Oaks in the last couple of years or the Richard Milles or the Pateks, where I don't want to fall into this. And Tudor, it's just the cool, accessible thing. And it brings back to my second thing that I wanted to add is the beauty of watchmaking and the beauty of brands in general is the accessibility of the person you can talk to. Independents have grown to become the hot guys of the moment because you can literally message them on WhatsApp or message them on Instagram, and you're going to say, yeah, that's because you're in industry. No, do it yourself. Like send a text message or send an Instagram inbox to Phil and Mary, to Max Busser, to whoever. They will get back to you. I doubt that anyone at Rolex, even though they've got 20,000 people working and probably 100 dedicated to social media, that somebody will ever get back to you. And that's the thing where I like the proximity of being able to share things about the brand, to learn things about the brand, and to have a conversation, not just someone telling you what is right and what is wrong. That's what I don't like about Rolex, but other brands on the market.
And actually, that's what you just said there in terms of wearing that Milgauss and not forming a connection. This is my issue, Kristian. This is my issue. I have the same issue, Ellie. It's cold. It's perfect and it's dehumanized. It feels that way to me. I've tried to form an emotional connection with watches. I had a Rolex on when my second child was born. I had a Rolex on when my third child was born. They're both gone. Not my children. They're
Just like, what happened to the poor girls?
No, I had immense life moments with these watches, and they're still like Teflon. Nothing sticks to modern Rolex. And what's interesting is we're looking at two vintage Rolex on the table, and I'm thinking, I can't think of two more characterful watches. And you know why they're so characterful? Because this one is an odd little weird funky freak. And this one is fucked up. This one's got a mistake that makes it beautiful.
I like the vintage ones better.
See?
And Oral taught me a lot about vintage Rolexes.
That Oral being Oral Bax.
Oral Bax, yeah. Here's the name you just dropped. I've got it down here. No, vintage Rolex gives you, that's why when I get the Patrizzi, it won't move. It'll be for life because I already determined that its flaw is what makes it beautiful, which is like you. You have many wonderful traits, but it's your flaws that make you.
Okay.
You know what? You're pointing out something.
I'm the moderator. Cue back to when my daughter was born. I was wearing a Rolex.
I like
Cue back to when my son was born. I also wore a Rolex. So I kept them. When my daughter turned 18, I presented her with the watch I bought when she was born. See, I knew that I cannot tell my kids, my children, to love watches as much as I do. So rather than seeing my daughter trading this Rolex into 2 concert tickets with a heavy rock band, I had it engraved on the case back. On the case back, it says, if you trade this watch into hash, make sure you get a kilo. Love, Dad. We have a B-roll of that, Marcus. See, problem is inflation and commodities. I probably should have engraved 3 kilos. She loves that watch and she wears it on great occasions as when she's with her dad. My son, he's going to get a watch that is already engraved. He's going to get a Sea Dweller that he wore for his confirmation last spring. On all the pictures, he's like this, proudly wearing that watch. I took it off him the day after. He's going to wait until he's 18. So to them, Rolex has a great meaning talking watches. Here's
win,
another
Kristian.
story.
You win. What does his engraving say? Please don't leave me.
It's a Sea Dweller. So it has engraving on the back.
But what does it say?
The Sea Dweller?
No, but what did you engrave a message on his?
No. The Sea Dweller is engraved on the case back.
Right.
From the factory.
I know, but so you didn't write a message to him?
No.
Oh,
he's a man. He doesn't need the poetic love from his dad.
Okay.
But another story talking about the youth. I think the Rolex watch is important for many people to be able to buy to celebrate big things in life. Your first job, your third divorce, etc., etc. Big important things in life.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to have a little game now, the card game. Maybe you remember this from the shows we already had, The Sickness. And this is a card game that Andrew actually made up in his mind. Another Friday night, he could not sleep. He was worried that the crowd would realize that he used his watches as commodities. Pick one, Andrew.
They'll never know. How will they ever know?
Oh, the crown knows.
Oh, God.
It's like the highness.
Wow, I got a good one. Mine is What watch truly nails a small dick energy vibe?
Oh, wow. Probably
That's a
good with the
one.
theme of this
I'm going to stick with this. It is a Rolex Deep Sea Sea Dweller. Hello, small boy.
Wow.
Yep.
That was a good card for this episode.
It was. Yep. That actually, I could also say a Rolex Yachtmaster 2 has that vibe to me.
I'm not quite sure about that one. The white gold one, when it came out, I thought it was a really cool piece because Rolex is not that famous for complications.
It's a
Problem
good
is,
complication. It's cool.
it's a good complication if you have a yacht,
Yeah.
right?
But see, I also think a yacht has small dick energy.
I have a canoe.
That's big dick energy.
Sorry.
And a Defender.
Next.
So you can't do this, but let's.
Actually, no.
But it's a good card for you.
Yeah, it is.
Tell us about the card.
Can you put the card on the table?
The watch I regret selling is I don't have any because I've never sold a watch.
Okay.
That's big dick energy. I love that. All right, you're still high on that sugar thing. My 15 minutes of fame in watches was when? I think it was actually the lunch that I just shared with you guys on top of Rolex and having that talk. And you know, I thought, I'm going to have them talk now. You know, I was like the master of the horological universe, sitting there having lunch with the big lords of
Good
the house.
tomatoes.
Yeah. Oh, great tomatoes. So it's like the 15 minutes, just like, oh, wow, I just wasted their time. But they forgot about that because, you know, that's the great thing about the watch companies. They forget everything. Anyway.
Until it's on a podcast.
That's true. Those are pretty good cards.
Yeah.
This time.
We got good cards.
Can we buy this deck of cards?
Yeah, just hit the link on the screen and you're good. Yep.
Nice. All right.
All right.
So, this was probably, I'm not begging for remarks and comments from all you viewers, but I think that this is probably one of the most emotional brands that you call overrated. What would you call the crown, the watches from the crown, if not overrated?
I'm going to look for a word. It's just, I don't want it to come out the wrong way, but I think Rolex is the perfect brand for people who want to spend a little bit of money into a watch that can transmit to the second generation.
That's nice. I felt that. So, talking about your favorite modern Rolex, Eleanor, what's your first?
I think it would be the Oyster Perpetual Yachtmaster. And I know that very specific reference because the contrast of the black rubber bracelet with the black dial and the bejeweled bezel, which is hand-cut purple and blue sapphires, which, by the way, purple sapphire is probably one of the rarest sapphires there is on the market, super hard to find. And Rolex only uses, for bezel and gem setting, precious gemstones, which means emerald, rubies, sapphires, or diamonds. Their Daytona rainbows are only sapphires, no, the gemstones. And that specific one is just beautiful because it's just such a different way of using colored gemstone into a bezel that it's just highlighted with a few diamonds that just makes this watch a statement, whether you're a girl or a boy. And that probably is the only one I'd be wearing.
Eleanor showing love for the crown.
But
Love it.
It goes back to my original saying is I want to be seated at a table where if everybody's wearing a Rolex, I'm the only one wearing this particular one.
That's a cool one. Andrew,
I've just got.
what's your pick?
I've got 3 to rattle off because having said everything that I've said, I still desire Rolex.
Uh-huh.
It still burns in me, but I look for the curious and I look for the hackable. And I saw a titanium Yachtmaster on a NATO strap. And it is a smoke show. Absolutely one of a kind. You'd walk into a room, and I'm doing what you're doing, Ellie. At the end of the day, we're not so different, you and I. I love this hack, and it looks unbelievable. Number one, and then the beige and the pistachio
The OPs of 2025 are incredible.
So
OPs
again,
as in oyster petrels.
oyster petrels,
Sorry
yeah,
about
the
that.
yeah. And I think probably 36. I think I'd probably
Yeah,
go to 36,
absolutely
not 41.
36.
So
That's
look,
because you have a chicken wrist.
we. My God.
Wow.
So we talk a tough game.
Bring the
at,
ammo.
at the end of the day, I still got love for the crown, and I don't just want the broken and beautiful ones. The modern ones still hit me in the feels occasionally. So I think it's a fair point to close on.
Yeah.
Overrated in many respects, but still every year, for the rest of my life, there'll be a watch they release every year that I'm just like, oh, I'm not done.
What about you?
Give me a modern one.
Celebration dial. And here's the annoying thing. I know it was discontinued this year.
Oh.
But, and I have a feeling why it was discontinued. Because the celebration was all the colorful dials of the OPs that came during COVID. So the thing is, it looked like little balloons.
So cute.
And Rolex also came out with the emojis, day dates. It was all fun and games. And I put myself on the waiting list for the celebration dial in Geneva Airport straight after Watches and Wonders.
Mm-hmm.
So I come to Geneva all the time, just pop in there, go like, so how's the waiting list going on? And I came out there after Watches and Wonders this year. I was like, oh, come on. And then I got this really nice letter from Rolex, go like, we're so sorry, discontinued. Come on over. Let's have a chat. And I go like, have a chat about another waiting list for 7 years until it's discontinued? No, thank you. Anyway, I think I know why Rolex, they discontinued the celebration dial, because I saw the colorful Ocean Pacifics, Oyster Perpetuals, as a fun way to say goodbye to COVID, because that was a troubled time for all of us around the world. So we needed some colorful Rolexes. And I think the celebration dial was a great farewell to many of the colorful ones. But also, I think Rolex, they had spent the sense of humor that they have. For the 3 years they did the fun watches, this is over. I think that Mr. Dufour said, okay, enough about the smiles, enough about the laugh. Let's get back to what we do so well, boring watches.
No, they brought Leo. They brought Leo on board.
Yeah, well,
They brought Leo on board. I'm sorry, but
congratulations.
that's one thing.
Okay, you want to go through the ambassadors, the Hall of Fame? I don't know. But the thing is, I'm not negative on this. I think Rolex perfects boring. And mind you, we have to end this wonderful, wonderful episode. And we're gonna
It's
we
classic
can't do an episode without mentioning Rolex. But this was a full episode on Rolex because we had to do it. You can't do a podcast on watches without mentioning Rolex. Eleonor, thank you for your insights
You're very welcome.
and that little bedazzled love for the
because I'm
crown.
thinking about Leo.
And Andrew, thank you for not seeing your children as commodities as much as you see your Rolex watches. So, to you out there, thank you so much for tuning in. But I need to know, are you a modern Rolex? Are you a vintage Rolex kind of girl or guy? Let me know. And which modern Rolex would you rather be on waiting list for?
Are you a hybrid like me?
Are you a hybrid like Eleanor? Or are you a commodities guy like Andrew? Thank you so much for tuning in.
Pretty little thing, let me light your count, cause mama, I'm sure hard to hell and I yes around.